So good afternoon. This is Emma Rose Tabin. I'm with Kira Schultz, and we're here at RIT on May 20th, 2023. And as part of the Lambda Network at Kodak Reunion, we are conducting brief oral history interviews with Lambda members. And who are we speaking with today?
My name is Amy Friend.
All right, Amy. And what was your job at Kodak when you became involved with Lambda?
I had a couple different jobs when I first started there. I was an instructional designer, and by the time I left Kodak, I was a manager for quality and for documentation and communications.
Wow, awesome. And what were some of the things you did with the Lambda Network?
Oh my gosh. I think probably the most memorable things were I walked in my first Pride Parade. And so with Lambda, we did a lot of floats and marched in the Pride Parades in Rochester, but we also took it on the road and went up to Toronto.
Oh, wow.
And marched in their Pride, and that was huge.
That's
It
so
was a huge
cool.
deal. So it was the first time when walking next to a float, throwing out Kodak stuff out to the to the passerbyers, and dealing with the people who were yelling things at us because they didn't care about
Right.
didn't like who we were.
Right.
And so it was kind of empowering to be able to be part of that experience and feel it in a way that was as safe as it could be.
Yeah, wow, that's
And
awesome.
probably the second thing would be, at that point in time, we were helping our executives to be able to understand the value of marketing to different diversity segments. And so we created this thing called the Corporate Coming Out Continuum to help talk with executives about, way over here on the far left, you're deep in the closet, like an individual who's gay, versus way over here on the right, you're out marching in the parades, you're in people's faces, we're here, we're queer gay.
Okay, should be good.
So the second thing is that we really, at that point in time, we were far enough along in our history as an employee resource group that we were able to work with the executives and with the marketing group to help them understand the value of marketing to different diversity segments. And so one of the things that we developed to help talk about that was the Corporate Coming Out Continuum. And if you would picture this continuum where on the left, you're like deeply in the closet. So maybe you know, as a corporation, you support people who are gay and lesbian, transgender, bisexual, whatever, and queer. But it's like hush hush, nobody knows. It's like your family members don't even know, just your close friends, right? As compared to on the far right, you're out there, and as a company, you're testifying, you're visible in the community, you're visible not just in the LGBTQ community, but you're also visible in mainstream as well. And so that continuum really helped us. And I think the first year, with all of the marketing and PR work that we collaborated with people in those jobs within the company, we reached over 1 million people with our message.
Wow.
Yep.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And so do you have any other favorite memories of the Lambda Network?
I would say, well, first off, we were a fun group.
We keep hearing that.
Yeah. So I think we used to go out to conferences, and because Kodak was far enough along in our journey, you know, it's like coming out when you're gay or lesbian or transgender or bisexual or queer. It's always a continuous process coming out. And so other companies were at different spots in their coming out process. And so we would go to conferences like Out and Equal, and we would give presentations and talk about our journey and how we established policy. There was one story in particular I remember when Kodak was in the process of establishing policy and benefits for employees who were transitioning in the workplace. And it was back when I was the president of Lambda, and we went through this whole educational process side by side with our HR colleagues about what does it mean, what does it look like, why is it important, what's the language, what are the terms. And at that point, nobody had policies like this in their organizations. And I remember one of the guest speakers we had was Donna Rose, who used to be a football player and a wrestler, used to be Doug Rose. And we actually had, I think it was CNN or MSNBC was going to come and actually do an interview but Donna Rose needed a place to be able to be filmed in front of an audience. And so she came, and they didn't come, but our local news people came, and the local news people were like, they didn't have time to prep, but they handled it very gracefully.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And so what did your participation in Lambda mean to you?
Well, I identify as an introvert, and it really helped me to find my voice. You know, I think that's the biggest thing, as somebody who is, I identify as lesbian. It helped me to be able to find my voice and to share that back with my family as well, too. And I think the other thing is like volunteer and not-for-profit kind of work, when you're in organizations like that, it also gives you skills that you don't always get in your day job, right? So I was an individual contributor, and it gave me a chance to be able to demonstrate leadership skills and build those skills in a safe way and interact with executives that otherwise I wouldn't have had the chance to. And that was pretty powerful, and that carried with me after I left Kodak to other jobs. I was able to carry that and have my voice be loud enough and talk in a way that was respectful, so that people could hear the message.
Right, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And is there anything else you want to tell us about Lambda?
Man, I really miss it. Yeah, we had a really good time. There was one other story that I really like. We had, back when we were doing marketing, we had a group of us that really liked to bicycle. And we trained all season long, and then we did, it's called Outriders. It goes from Cambridge in Boston all the way down to Provincetown. It's like 125 miles in one day, and we had matching jerseys, and at the end we're down, have you guys ever been to Provincetown? Okay, well, it's like down at the end of Cape Cod, right? And so at the end, we've got our jerseys on, and we've got our bikes, we're holding them above our heads in triumph.
That's
and
amazing.
So it was a lot of fun.
All
Yeah,
right.
good memories.
Thank you so much. That concludes our questions.